Our space. OneSpaceLove.
Welcome, Pat Tierney, to OneSpaceLove podcast. Thanks for coming on today.
Thanks, Steph. Thanks so much for having us.
Yeah, we've been trying to do this a few weeks now, and now we're here in this moment together.
Yeah.
Really nice to meet you face to face over cyber world in Zoom.
Yeah. That's great. It's my first Zoom encounter as well. So I'm feeling very 2020.
Yeah, it is very 2020. I like to start off by asking my guest if they can introduce themselves by answering the statement, I am. So could you please answer the statement, I am?
I am Pat Tierney. I am conscious, creative, and very grateful to be here.
Thank you so much. So Pat, let's go in a little bit. And where did you begin to realize that you had this passion for playing the lap guitar and writing music and being a songwriter? Where did this all begin?
Yeah, I think probably goes back to high school.
Okay.
And my father played in lots of folk bands and Irish Celtic groups and stuff. And my brother was in lots of like grunge rock bands and stuff. So I was always kind of looking up to that. And then probably I was about 14 or 15 and music really started to come into my life on a deep, sort of level. And yeah, I started playing guitar, standing guitar. And then it was probably only about a year into learning guitar that I heard slide guitar, and particularly the lap slide guitar. And there was just something about the sound that just completely floored me and just grabbed me in that second. Like, I think I was listening to Ben Harper.
I was going to ask, was it Ben Harper? Because that's what I was listening to back then.
Yeah.
And it gets
Ben Harper and probably Harry Meeks, between those two guys. And I was lucky enough to go to Blues Fest when I was about 14 or 15, and standing in the crowd and just listening to Ben Harper play slide guitar to like 10,000 people, and the energy in that tent. He was just doing a solo song on Weisenborn slide guitar, and I just remember leaving the festival and just like one of those moments in your life where it's just completely life altering, takes you on that next little stream. And I went home and said to my dad, can I get one of these slide guitars? And we ended up just turning a normal guitar into a slide guitar, basically. That was kind of a quick, easy way for me to get started. And that's really where the journey kind of began for me, because it gave me something unique, something that I felt was me.
Yep.
And it was, at the time I didn't really know. I was just like, I'm just going to play this guitar. This is great. But looking back, it's like I had that stepping stone to really have my voice, have my own voice. And that was really something really special that propelled me, into the songwriting and making music. So yeah, that was a really special formative kind of time for me. Definitely.
Yeah, I want to hold there because it feels like you paid attention in that moment, because to be in that crowd at Blues Fest as a 15-year-old, there could have been many other things that you would have had your attention on, but to actually capture that moment is really special. And yeah, I want to acknowledge you for that in this moment.
No, thank you. Yeah.
You paid attention. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's easy at that age too to be so, obviously caught up in everything. But the power of the music, I suppose, and the song just really spoke to me. And it was just completely had me, 10,000 people, probably a lot of people at that stage of the night too, on different sorts of highs and lows and all sorts of things. And as we know it, going to festivals and stuff. But and I'm thankful for my mum and dad just for letting me float around a festival like that at that age too, without, you know, I had some friends and family and stuff around, but I remember just being there by myself in the middle of this tent and just being completely in awe, and just knowing straight away, it was like, I don't know how I'm going to get to do that or what needs to happen, but that's what I want to do.
That's a vision and goal. And
Yeah,
also having, you know, when you're saying acknowledging your parents, because coming home and saying, I want to create a slide guitar, lap guitar, your father believed in you, and he, you know, he opened that door. How do you turn a regular guitar into a lap slide guitar? Like what?
Yeah, it's basically just the strings need to be a little bit higher off the fretboard. So we just rigged up a little setup where you can get little things from the music shop for about $5 or $10, and that's just a really great way to start and get into it. Which you know, a lot of people have asked, and I've said, oh, just grab one of those things from the music shop, 10 minutes, restring it, and you're ready to rock. So, but yeah, the instrument's just been such a big part of my being now for so long, and it's kind of almost feels like a bit of an extension of my voice or something, if that makes sense.
I was about to say, it's an extension of your soul. It's almost like your instrument, your vibration to share your message.
Yeah, and I'm fascinated by that stuff. Like for me, when I play it, it sort of always just brings me back to clarity and clearness. Like even if I'm at home and I'm feeling a bit, you know, grumpy or a bit, you know, I just sit and play. Yeah, I sit and play for 5 or 10 minutes, and I'm like instantly kind of, you know, it's almost meditative in a sense. It's just like brings me back to that clarity. So I try to play every day, but obviously it doesn't always happen. But yeah, it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing.
And where did the songwriting come into this?
Yeah, so I suppose at that stage, it was more about the guitar, and then I kind of would sing a little bit at that age when I was learning. Obviously, sort of learning and playing and singing at that learning level gets a bit tricky, but I definitely knew I had a voice, but I wasn't really sure what it sounded like or what it felt like. And I started to sing and started to go down that road, but I was very shy, very you know, kept a lot of stuff kind of introvert sort of style, and I would even be playing in my room and singing, and I would hear people sort of coming down the hallway or something, and I would stop singing, and I was like, oh God, you know. So it was scary, you know, trying to find that place, but the more I did it, you know, the more I practiced and practiced it. It's still to this day, like singing for me isn't a completely natural sort of part of who I am, I think. That's evolving a lot for me in the last few years, but it's still something I'm trying to you know, really find confidence and really feel like it's a natural thing. Whereas slide guitar for me, that's really my, you know, natural kind of center, whereas singing is, I suppose, close second, but that's an ongoing journey, I suppose.
Well, it's about stepping into that self-belief and, you know, really owning it to be able to let the voice come through with that clarity. And
yeah, absolutely. And I think slide guitar almost, it has a sort of human voice quality to it. It sort of wails and it sings, and that's really helped me. Playing that style has really played into how I sing and how I approach music as well, because it's got a very kind of mystical quality about it. And even a lot of my music starts with slide guitar, and then it you know, it kind of takes these different little paths, but 70-80% of the time it always starts with slide guitar, and then, you know, it kind of branches out.
So take us, when did you release your first album?
Yeah, so my first release was about 2012. And I'd been living in Brisbane and starting to kind of write music and show people, and was, getting a bit more confidence playing at open mic nights and stuff like that. And yeah, that first step I think was important, because it was like, okay, here's some music to share with the world. Just being able to kind of let go of it, as a songwriter or someone first getting into it, that's a really important thing. That first step of just being able to let go. And when I did that, it kind of flowed from there. It was slow steps, but that sort of led me to releasing an EP in 2012. And then, from then on, it was just kind of every 2 or 3 years I've been able to release music and tour, and it's been beautiful. Yeah.
And have there been any obstacles that you had to overcome during the process?
Yeah, I think probably the obstacles have probably been driven, I suppose, like self-belief, confidence, coming from that period where I wasn't sure if this was what I wanted to, or if I could do it, and finding that self-belief and confidence. And that's been my biggest thing, I think. And then that evolution into kind of knowing or realizing that you have some magic, or you have some talent or power to inspire people. That's been kind of the cycle for me, is getting to that point. And that I would say that's my biggest obstacle, or has been anyway. Just that self-belief, I think, for sure. Yeah.
Because it is a process in the music industry to get to that 10,000 people audience playing on Blues Fest as one solo artist. I mean, when you have that vision that you've started from the beginning, I mean, that was what you saw.
Yeah.
There must be moments when you're like, am I going to get there?
Yeah. There's definitely been some periods where I, the ebbs and flows of the industry, and where I think, am I on the right path here? What can I do? And I used to worry about that a lot. It probably hindered me a lot in the early days. I was probably not as present, as I am now. I was kind of looking to the goal or the goals, and I was here and not really taking in what was happening in the journey.
Really important point that you've just made.
Yeah. And that's something.
Yeah.
That's something in the last few years that's really blossomed for me, is really just paying attention to those present moments where, I was playing gigs or supporting certain people that I dreamed about. And then I was there and I just wasn't really there. I was just like, okay, yeah, cool. And then I was looking back thinking, wow, I've done this, this, and this, but I wasn't really even conscious to what I was doing, which is crazy.
Give us an example of someone that you supported that.
Yeah, so I suppose an example of that was Matt McHugh from The Beautiful Girls, who was a big influence for me when I first started playing guitar and stuff. And then getting the opportunity to support him, I think it was 4 or 5 years ago. And it was just like, oh, wow, I'm actually at this point now where I'm sharing the stage with one of my heroes. And I remember doing a support gig and just, like I said, not being completely conscious or mindful, even grateful for that matter, probably, because I was so caught up in external stuff that I really just kind of missed that opportunity to really be there, be present, and really soak it all up. And then I remember thinking a couple of months after it, wow, like I really wasn't there. Like I wasn't. And that really shook me, because I was like, this is such a life kind of altering kind of moment that you had dreamed about years ago. And then you got there and you weren't there. You were just going through the motions, I suppose. And that was a big shift for me. So probably 2016 maybe. And that kind of coincided with having a child as well, which is obviously a big thing. But so the last kind of 3 or 4 years, that's been a big shift for me, which I've really noticed,
Yeah. So how did fatherhood change your perspective?
Yeah, it just brought me back to complete. I mean, it just does it. Obviously, parenthood, it just kind of sends this lightning bolt straight into your heart and your soul, and you kind of just strip away all that bullshit, and it just brings you to complete kind of clarity in your life. For me, anyway, I think, and that really coincided with what we just spoke about around that time, and I really just sort of stopped and was like, I'm so blessed to be able to do this. Music has brought me everything incredible in my life traces back to music. So how can I honor that? How can I repay this thing that I've been blessed with? And that was by, when I'm writing, when I'm recording, touring, when I'm connecting with people, to just be there, try to be completely present, which is the aim, at every gig, for me. And I'm still working really hard at really getting better at that, but that's a process and an evolution that lifelong, I suppose, for sure. Yeah.
Pat, did you come to realization of some practices that help you to be present? Because, the saying of the music industry is sex, drugs, and rock and roll,
Yeah.
So it feels like we're really changing that belief system. There's a lot of artists stepping up and wanting to be present for their audience and wanting to have this exchange of energy and vibration. Yeah. So what are some of the tools that helped you to be present on the stage and to remove all that self-doubt and to be in your alignment and carry that, be a messenger, really?
Yeah, that's it. I think gratitude was the first step for me, which I probably wasn't doing for so long. Recognizing what I had and just being grateful, firstly. That was a big thing for me. And then meditation, I think it was a very slow kind of journey into meditation for me. And that was probably started around that time too.
Was there someone that helped you with that practice? Yeah.
Yeah, my partner was kind of on that journey, had been on that journey for a couple of years, and I'd seen her doing it. And meditation, prior to that, I always felt like I'd get to it, but I just kind of like sort of stood away from it for a while. I kind of just didn't understand it. And then, that first kind of 6 or 8 months of doing it, I really started to feel, very subtly, but it was like I really started to feel that journey and that energy and going on stage and just being in public and going about your day was really starting to rub off. And so, then it got to the point where I was doing shows and realizing how important it was to take that true kind of real energy that I had onto the stage and how big a part of that to be of the show. Whereas before I was doing shows and not really thinking about that external connection stuff. It was all about just, I'm just going to get on stage, play the songs, get off. And it was almost like I was a bit of a robot, just sing the songs, get off, and then.
I love that you're sharing this. It's so important great. Because
it's great robot, to talk about. Yeah. And I think so many people, go through that. But for me, finding that energy and that calmness now is such a powerful element to my music and my shows, where it's almost the most important part now. you know. I know I can sing the songs and play, and even if I'm not, you know, killing it on the guitar or my voice, which happens sometimes, I know that if I get my energy and my center right, then that's sort of the key.
Yeah.
And the other things will just fall in place, you know. So that's been a really big thing for me in the past few years, for sure. Really zoning in on that.
And what practice do you do, your partner and you? Is it just sitting in stillness every day, or is there a particular practice that you follow?
Yeah, I have an app on my phone, which kind of helps me, you know, take account for it. So I try to do, you know, at least 5 to 10 minutes a day in the morning, where I'm just connecting with breath and practicing gratitude and really just starting the day off well. That's kind of the key for me. Like we said before about winning the morning. I notice that so much, you know, if I can center in early before, you know, getting on social media, computer, doing any of that kind of stuff, then it really just sets me up for the day. So it's a lot about just checking in, working on your breath, and then really that just sets you up for the day, you know, for me. And then translating that into gigs as well, it's a powerful thing for me to do it before I play as well. It really just brings me to presence, and that's been really powerful. Yeah.
And that trickle effect goes into being a parent and being a partner and just being conscious and present for those in your lives, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's starts there, but it's filtered over to that as well. And it's, you just notice it spreading out into all aspects of your life and friendships and family. And, yeah, I can't thank it enough for helping me.
Yeah, I always, well, I have to do meditation sometimes 3 times a day, but at least every morning. And I sort of explain it like I'm plugging myself into the source, into the power, and that gives me the energy to be, you know, trickling through my day. So
yeah, absolutely. Like it's just one of those things. If you're not working on yourself or filling that energy source up, then you know, how can you give it out? It's just simple science, really.
Isn't it? We become an empty tank
Yeah.
or an empty vessel. So
Yeah, exactly.
I was blessed to receive a gift from you, and you sent me a little package, and I've been listening a lot to your music, and I can really feel your essence coming through. So I can really have gratitude for what you're saying, because it is working and it is coming through. 2 songs that stood out for me, Angels and My Sweet Love. Can you explain, were these produced with Paulie B?
Yeah, they were both done with Paulie. So.
Yeah, so let's talk about Paulie, because I mean, I hope to get him on the show soon, but he's an incredible producer and an artist himself. So how did you get to cross paths with him and work with him?
Yeah, so it probably started when I was in Brisbane, and I came across Bobby Alou's music.
Oh, yes.
Who you know well.
Yeah.
And I was just gravitated towards the sound. And I went to a few shows and would see those guys around town, you know. And then I got the opportunity to play with Bobby, I think.
With a beautiful girl.
This was even before that, probably supporting Bobby Alou.
Okay.
And I was, you know, blown away and just like, oh, yes, yeah, you know, these were some of my kind of local heroes that I was seeing around town and seeing just absolutely slaying it, you know. And then I met Paulie through that and immediately felt just a really calm but powerful presence.
Yeah. And
then had the opportunity to play with the guys over the years around the country at different shows and stuff. And when it came time to think about doing my second album, Paulie kind of just was there at the forefront, of what I wanted to do. And it took probably 3 or 4 years to kind of get that relationship kind of brewing and feel like it was in a space where we were ready to jump into the studio together. Because I think that's important, to have that relationship, for me anyway, kind of at the right point and the right timing before taking on such a big kind of project. So that was late 2017. And Paulie had just moved up to Sunshine Coast and opened a really great studio up there. So the timing of it was just kind of aligned really well. It was meant to be. Yeah. But he's just one of those souls that, doesn't say a lot, but when he says stuff, it's just like really powerful. And for me in the studio, having that kind of calm presence that sort of goes on my wavelength too was, I think, just a really great combination. Yeah. It just seemed to work really well. When I first got in the studio, I was a little bit not anxious, but obviously nervous. Here's all my songs. I just sat in a room and played them. We sat in the studio. I just sat in front of a microphone and played about 20 songs, and the whole time I was just thinking, oh, I wonder what he's thinking. Are these any good? And then we sat there together and listened back to them and realized that, I think there's something here we can tap into. There's a mood, there's an energy, there's a vibe. And that was kind of where Angels, that song you mentioned, that was on the first day we got together, that we tracked that. The take here on the album is basically me just sitting in front of the mic, and then we've kind of layered some things on top of it.
Incredible. And where did that song come through? What drew you to write that song? Yeah,
so it happened. I was playing a gig in Brisbane one day at a cafe, and it was right in the middle of the city. Mm-hmm. And I was halfway through a song, and a cyclist came flying down the hill, and a car cleaned him up. Okay. And it was like just a crazy experience, but we all obviously jumped up out of the cafe and ran out to see if he was okay. And it gets a bit blurry after that because we were all kind of attending to this cyclist who had, was clearly not in a very good way. And I remember him lying there, and then everything just kind of slowed down, I suppose, for about half an hour. The city just kind of became completely still, really, for that little period of time. And then he was taken away, and a group of us kind of walked back into the cafe that we're in, and just, obviously had no words. We kind of just sat there in shock and disbelief. And I remember sitting there in the cafe and just having this urge that I needed to get home. And so I grabbed everything, rushed home, and I wrote that song like there and then, as soon as I got home. It was probably the quickest song, the fastest song that I've ever written, in about half an hour. And then kind of just put it away because I was, obviously the shock and the experience was really strange, and just I sort of buried the song basically for a while. And then that was probably 2012, 2013. And then when it came time to do the album, I was just kind of sifting through song notepads and stuff and pulled that out, and I thought, oh, wow. Like I read it back just as a poem, basically. I didn't have any music to it. And I thought, oh, wow, there's something speaking to me here. And it brought back the memories of the day of writing it, and we did it in the studio, and that song just jumped out to me straight away as like, this is going to be on the album, and this needs to be the kind of steering, the steering wheel of the album, basically. And that was kind of the song that really started that flow of the other songs on the album that really started to come out.
Did you ever tune into what happened to that soul?
I didn't really. I
don't know.
I
How
asked.
you can.
Yeah. I think speaking to some people at the cafe, because it was a weekly kind of gig that I would do there for a while, and no one seemed to really know or wasn't sure what had happened. So to this day, I still don't know if he, is still with us, or whether he's,
or he's an angel.
He's an angel. So, but yeah, just a crazy experience, but also an incredible experience of feeling that energy come in and then
come through you. Yeah.
Come through. Yeah. Which that's only happened on a few songs for me, that sort of, and I know a lot of people speak about that.
Well, it's almost like a lot of people talk about they have to capture it, like it can happen at any moment, and they're literally, if they grab it and capture it, come through.
Yeah.
I mean, I was just interviewing Anya Tyrrell, and Call You Now just came through her in one go.
Yeah.
And
I think you can hear it with people's songs too, those types of experiences, whether it's, just a song, or whether something's come through them to allow them to write that song. So I feel, looking back now, I feel so grateful that came to me, because some people search for that their whole lives, trying to write a song that has that sort of process. So
and you said it happened more than once. So what was another song that you had this experience with?
Yeah, I think My Sweet Love.
Yeah, that was the other one that stood out for me.
Yeah. So I think it's beautiful that you kind of resonated with those ones, because that's a couple that for me on the album, I didn't really have to, I suppose, use my brain too much for. And that's the goal as a songwriter, is just to be completely vulnerable and to be able to go with that energy flow. And My Sweet Love was one. I think we first moved down to Tinton Bar, just out of Byron Bay there. And
Tinton Bar, I love that name.
Tinton Bar, yeah, just out of Lennox Head, kind of in the hinterland.
Beautiful.
Yeah, incredible spot. And my partner and I found out we were having a baby, which we hadn't talked about, hadn't planned. It was just one of those, like, universe, here you go. Had
you been together long? Like, was it a long relationship?
Yeah, I think we'd been together for about 2 years.
Okay.
So we'd built up a really beautiful relationship. We had that sort of base thing to really be able to take that news or take that experience and just go with the flow, It took us a while to, but we just grabbed it, and moving to that area really sort of opened up a lot of things. But that song was really just like a letter almost to her, to say, like, it's all going to be okay.
We're your partner.
Yeah. It's going to be okay. So, that was another song, I think. And just grateful that song, because it's funny. She would always sort of like, when are you going to write a song about me, which I loved. And then this song just sort of came. So it was like, just a great, beautiful experience.
Oh, I love that. And so how are you feeling now in these current times? And I've seen that you got to play with Ash Grunwald. Did that gig went ahead, didn't it?
Yeah. So,
but I've noticed that I think for you, touring would have been a big part of your journey. So how has it felt at the moment? You know, you've really had to practice now being present in these unknown times of what lies ahead.
Yeah. It's been, I think the first few weeks when everything kind of happened, I was freaking out a bit. You know, here's this thing that's kind of challenging my whole persona and what I do. But once I stepped back, I realized, you know, what a blessing it was, because I hadn't really taken a break or spent that much one-on-one time with my family since we became a family. You know, I was always on that touring release schedule, and always chasing living in that next 6 to 8 month kind of bubble.
Yeah.
And that comes back to that, you know, obviously trying to be as present as possible, but I was just so like wired into, okay, what's the next 6 months looks like? What does the next 12 months look like? Where it almost overtook what I was trying to do. And then when the COVID stuff happened, it was like just a complete shutdown, obviously, but it allowed me to just step away from what I was doing, and I could vividly see myself and my career, my family, what was important, what do I want to be as a musician more clearly, what do I stand for. So that's been a blessing, really, even though it's been, you know, obviously a very hard time for a lot of people. But for me and my family, it's kind of just clarified a lot of stuff, and for my career allowed me to just be like, this is who I am, this is what I want to do. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to let the industry do this to me. I'm going to do what I want, basically. Yeah. So that's been really empowering.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
And when you say that you've had a realization of what you stand for, what are those some of those things that you stand for at the moment that you're really stepping into?
Yeah, I think for me, you know, a lot of like Indigenous Australia has been a big undercurrent for my family for many years. My mum has worked in Indigenous health for, you know, 20 plus years. Okay. So I was exposed to that struggle and that injustice kind of inequality for many years. So that's been something that's been brewing in me for a long time, but I didn't really know how to instill it into what I was doing or how to go about, you know, really being an advocate or a leader, you know, in that as a white fella, you know, like that's important to me to really be at the forefront of that push and that justice. So that's something I've been trying to instill, I suppose, for a long time, but now it feels, you know, a lot clearer about how I can push that into my musical endeavors as well, and not just be a musician.
Yeah, well, I always say how you can use your abilities to be the voice and to make the change that you want to see.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And so do you think this will come through your songwriting as far as sharing messages of what you want to say?
Yeah, I think it's come through in a few songs since I've...
But you did the tour, The Spirit of the Land.
Yeah.
On the tracks.
Yeah, that was a big sort of we were in Bunjalung there, and it's just this, obviously, such a sacred, mystical, beautiful place. Well, Bunjalung, yeah, the nation, like, which is northern New South Wales there. Yeah. So
the land that
that was just such an inspiring place to be, I think. Yep. And it was...
Well, there's something about the energy, isn't there, up there?
Yeah. That was what I felt after being there a while. I was like, I'd always loved coming to this area, traveling, festivals, whatever. Once I lived there, I realized
sacred land. Yeah.
I realized that there was this energy there. There was this, you know, and that's where that song kind of came from. And that was kind of another big push in that direction of trying to have a voice and trying to be a leader, or not a leader, but a voice just to sing about some of this stuff, you know. So that was important for me to do that. Yeah.
And so during this time, you've become very clear on how to be present in your performances and to be present for those that you love, of what you value, and to also be clearer of what you want to share moving forward through your abilities and your gifts that you have.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's
beautiful realization.
Yeah, I think, and that's just, again, being grateful that you can find that realization. And some people, you know, go so long and can't, or don't know how to, or so it's just always comes back to that gratitude of realizing, or whatever it is. So yeah, that just blessed.
Yeah, and to have a stable relationship sounds beautiful, that you have a beautiful partner with you along your side.
Yeah, and she's been an absolutely incredible kind of inspiration, not only with that, but just the way she goes about stuff too. Has helped me so much in my career, not just, you know, my personal life.
Yeah, it's really admirable when you can be alongside someone that is practicing what they preach. They're actually living the lifestyle, you know, so that you're able to witness. They're not just speaking it, they're actually doing it.
Yeah, firsthand. And I think because she was, you know, maybe a little bit ahead in her personal growth, I could see that shift. Yeah. So that was kind of such a blessing to be able to see her make that step or that growth.
Yeah.
And be like, oh wow, I'm seeing this. It's right here. Yeah. I'm gonna get in on that. Yeah.
You know, it's beautiful that you took that path and didn't, you know, go the other way. You walked along.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Because that takes courage. Absolutely. You know, it's not an easy path, is it? Awakening. It's it's courage. Yeah.
Yeah, and I definitely shied away from it for a while, just because it was, you know, change is
uncomfortable.
Is scary. Yeah, and we're going through it collectively right now as humans,
as a world collectively.
Yeah,
we are.
It's been crazy to see and just observe, and it's you know, through the darkness comes the light, as they say. So like, obviously some terrible things happening in the world right now, but it's also shining a light, you know.
Yeah. Everyone that I speak to, it's all at, you know, I've been doing these podcasts during COVID, and it's like everyone, it's like, you know, the cup's being shaken and everything's coming to the surface, and we are going through this tunnel, but a lot of people are having these incredible realizations during this time. And so I think that there is some beautiful, you know, silver lining to the experience.
Yeah, absolutely. That silver linings has been a big thing that I've always tried to speak about in this current time, like just finding those things like we spoke about, and for a lot of people, you know, they're going to come out of this and hopefully be on that path to awakening and positivity, and just finding that gratitude.
Yeah, and raising vibrations.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and true connections, you know, that's we need some more authenticity and true connections.
Yeah.
What are, you've achieved a lot along the path. What are some, without looking into the future and still being present, I mean, this is what we want to practice, but when you sit in that stillness, is there some things that you're hoping to step into and to experience along the path?
Yeah, I think for me, going forward, it's really about cementing who I am as an artist, I think, and really honing in on, you know, what I want to do. I think before all this, I was a bit unsure about who I was as an artist, which is kind of strange, but I've been playing for so long and really searching for that identity. And I suppose that comes with growth as well. But so for me, it's really about really crystallizing who I am as an artist, what I stand for, and making the music that I really want to make, not sort of going with that industry flow, I suppose, which I've been guilty of doing in the past. So that for me is my sort of journey now, is just owning who I am, what I do, what I'm good at, and really just going down that path. And if that means doing, less gigs, I'm okay with that. I just want to really shape that kind of journey at the moment. So that's really where I am at the moment.
I feel very grateful to hear you speak in this way, because I feel immense gratitude to be interviewing you and hear you say this, because I think that, talking about the robots, music industry can become like many other industries where you're driven by what management says, or, what festivals ask you to do. And, they have all served a purpose, but there's a new way at the moment that we are adapting to. And I think the more that artists are stepping into, why are they an artist? What is it that they're here to bring across? And really stepping into that self-belief, that is where the power comes from, and that's where change will start to occur.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, like I said, for many years I was in that robotic nature, and I was living my life almost through my career. The highs and lows of what I was trying to do were sort of shaping who I was and how I was. And I realized that I just can't go on like that.
You can't sustain that, can you?
No, it's too much on the emotional state to be living that way. So now it's very clear that my goal is that just do what I want to do, and that's obviously easier said than done, but now I have the realization, I suppose, and that's the first step for sure.
And if I may say, the more you tune in to that power within you, the more the songs will come through you as a vessel, and the more the performances, you'll be guided where to perform, who to work with, who to play, who to support, because you'll have this inner guidance guiding.
Yeah, it's like the inner voice. Like my son has been watching Toy Story lately.
Yeah.
But one of the movies talks about the inner voice a lot, and I remember watching it and thinking, like, yeah, that's what it's all about. It's like when you can hear that inner voice speaking, that's when you're there and you're present, and that's gonna guide you like to where you need to be. Simply.
I mean, one of my prayers, and I say prayer in the sense of just going into that stillness, not a prayer to something external, but I always say, what is of the highest good for me to do today? Like, what serves me of the highest purpose for my children, for myself, and show me the people that I'm to speak to or to cross paths with. And your day will just flow on a magical journey, almost like a mystical unfolding that you can't imagine with your little mind where it will take you, once you surrender to that inner power. Yeah.
That's it. Just that surrender, I think, because we're so, driven to be in control and have this and have that. But when you can just surrender, that opens so many channels and avenues up. That's
the
really
possibilities are beyond what our mind can imagine.
Yeah, exactly. It's crazy. And I've been reading and listening to a lot of Eckhart Tolle lately, and that's really been a big.
For the power
of now. Has been huge. I think I'm on about the third audiobook listening to that in the past month, and that's just opened up a lot of extra levels of that, stillness and stuff as well. So that's been huge.
Yeah, he's an incredible teacher. And New Earth was a big Power Now, and then a New Earth was a big part of my journey. And to audio after audio about the experience of living from that that seat of the soul, the present moment.
Yeah, just that being able to observe yourself, I think that's been big for me as well.
And I love when he just explains, you know, putting the hand out and then feeling that energy.
Yeah.
You know, it's not a body, it's energy.
Yeah, that's all we are. Yeah. Yeah.
So we're wrapping up now. It's been so beautiful talking to you. And as I said, I feel very grateful to have you on the show.
Thank you so much for having us on too.
Yeah. How can we best support you at the moment, like during these times? What is the best way that the community can connect in with you?
Yeah, I think, I mean, the simple stuff of like Facebook and Instagram, and then, you know, following my Spotify and YouTube and all that stuff.
Yeah,
I think
it's important. Yeah.
for me, it's really important that people kind of, if they come into my space, being able to stay there, you know, and that's really important for me, whether it's, you know, mailing lists or that kind of stuff. So, and that obviously starts the connection. So,
I love that.
yeah.
If you come into my space, stay with me there. I love that.
I just want to have time to, you know, because often, you know, you'll hear an artist or a great song and then it's kind of this flash sometimes.
Yeah.
And if you can sort of stay connected and have that opportunity with people to
well, I just got stay with Pat and watch him grow.
yeah. Let's just do that. For sure.
I like that. Well,
Yeah.
I'm excited.
But I mean,
I'm excited to see where you're going.
oh no, thanks. But I mean, in terms of live shows and stuff, there's not much obviously happening at the moment. But yeah,
We've got a gig happening in October, but it's up
Queensland. Yeah, Gold Coast. So we'll see how that sort of shapes up. It's obviously changing so much, but at this stage, the show's on Sunday, October 11th.
Yep.
So Gold Coast people, if you'd like to come.
Yeah. How was it performing with Ash? Was it a really intimate, like, because it wasn't a big, you can't have a big crowd. How was that concert?
Oh, that was incredible. It was, I think we had 100 people.
Oh.
So we did 3 nights, and a matinee show on the last day. So we had 4 concerts. And that was just my absolute dream setting, really. I was there just thinking, like, this is the shows that I have manifested and dreamt about for so many years, where I'm on stage, it's a listening audience, people are sitting down, and there's that connection, you know.
Yeah. Rather
than, you know, I'm a folk musician, I suppose. I'm not like a guy that's 4 to the floor getting people up dancing and stuff. So having people there sitting, connecting was my dream kind of space. And being able to play with Ash and meet Ash and connect with him was just beautiful. Like,
was that your first time playing with him?
Yeah, we'd met briefly, I think, years ago, but this was the first kind of proper connection and interaction. And
beautiful.
He's just such an activated soul, you know, and to see his journey that he's been on as well is really inspiring. So having those people in your circle and in your life is really important.
Yeah, because I mean, he is someone in the music industry that has had many achievements, and he has come to this incredible spiritual practice that helps him to be present. So it's great to be surrounded by these, you know, like-minded souls.
Yeah, and he was a guy when I first was starting to come in was really taking off. So to be able to come sort of full circle and be sitting on stage playing with him, just sitting there going, wow, like that was such a present, one of those moments where I was just like, wow, this is where I'm meant to be. Yeah. This is where I'm meant to be.
Yes, and this is where you're meant to be. Sorry.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, but I did, it's weird because I did manifest it. I sort of went back and thought about it. And over the last sort of 12 months, that I'd realized that I'd gotten myself there just through practice and, you know, gratitude and all that kind
You
of stuff.
reach out to him? Or like, how do you feel you called that in?
I remember having visions of like playing with him on stage, like, but then getting closer to when we played together, it was just this automatic kind of thing. When I saw he was doing the shows, we just reached out, and it was just this really. They just went, yeah, and it was like this perfect kind of like,
Flow.
yeah, of course, sweet, beautiful. So that felt incredible as well. Yeah.
Well, I see when world tours begin again and Ben Harper's visiting.
Yeah, yeah.
I see that happening on the stage.
Yeah, that's the dream. I had a chance to meet him a few years ago, and that was pretty special because it was like from that moment we talked about earlier, seeing him on stage, and then I had a chance to meet him at a festival, and I really just wanted to say thank you. So I saw him, he was standing there, and I was kind of, wow, this is my opportunity. And I just kind of like walked up to him, and, you know, my heart was just like beating a million miles an hour. And I remember just not being able to really articulate or speak in a very clear way because I was just like being taken over by that energy. And it took me a while to kind of get out what I was trying to say, which I think he realized, and he was really great at just being really there and calm and present. And, you know, we spoke for about 10 minutes about music and family, and, you know, just to be there speaking to him was like, you know, meeting the guy that had really started the journey for me. And I remember he was about to go on stage as well, and he was just so like giving and calm and just like, and then afterwards just I was literally like physically just like shaking and stuff, and my family was there, and they got to meet him as well, and it was just this incredible like moment of like, this is where I'm meant to be, like we were saying, and just brought back all that early kind of motivation and desire and inspiration to do what I was doing, you know.
What
it's like we need those.
What festival was this that you met him? And I'm curious, like how were you? Because I have come very close to meeting Ben Harper 3 times in my life, in Bondi, at the Sydney Opera House, and at Blues Fest. And I've been backstage, but I've missed him by seconds. And how did you get that moment where you're, you know, there before he's going to go on stage?
Well, my brother does all the design and stuff for Queenscliff Music Festival. So he's been doing that for the last 5 or 6 years. And so we would make the trip down every couple of years to go down and go to the festival. And, you know, they would sort him out with, you know, all access sort of passes. And, you know, I was really pumped just to see Ben Harper that day. And I didn't even click in my head that, oh, if I just go backstage right now, the band and him are probably going to be, and I just wasn't that sort of guy that I would, you know, but I thought this is my opportunity to speak to him and just say thanks. So I literally just walked backstage, and I was standing in the sort of grassed area, and he walked out of his dressing room thing and was just standing there kind of, you know, and I was just like, wow, he's actually right there. I wasn't like, it was just crazy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh shit, I need to go. And I was sort of amping myself up, you know. So it was just crazy how it all happened. Like it was just meant to be, I think. Yeah. But just a great soul, you know. I'd heard some people had some interactions with him that weren't maybe so great, but I realized sort of after that, like, until you actually connect with someone yourself personally, that can't really be anything, you know. So I was just, grateful in that moment.
Because that's a really important point as well. You know, at this time, I really think we're learning to not project judgment onto people, and everyone has their opinions, but this world is such an illusion that your experience with Ben Harper is your experience because of who you are.
Yeah.
And someone else's experience could be what they're feeling that day, or, you know, and that projection projects onto Ben Harper. I mean, it's a whole nother subject, but I find it interesting that we really need to own this at the moment and not, be judging.
Absolutely. Because, and just quickly, like on that point, after I speak to him, another lady came up to him and her energy was just a bit sort of off and a bit like, and you could tell that he really stepped back away from that because it was like, whoa, hang on a minute. And I mean, he's obviously been doing it for so many years. He's probably very good at picking up on those energies like you're speaking about. And her experience, she now might not be great, but it's because she came in with a not so great energy. So it's just such a, like you said, it's
exactly what I'm saying. Whereas you come from, you know, I'm being me. This is the authentic me. I don't want anything from you. I just want to change something with you that's from my authenticity. And he can feel that.
Yeah. It's so important. It's so important.
Beautiful talking to you. And
thank you so much for having us.
I look forward to connect with you again and hear about, you know, where your path takes you and what new music comes out of you.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Thank
you so much for having us.
Yeah, thanks for being on OneSpaceLove podcast. You know, before we go, because we're going to wrap it up, would you bless us with sharing us a little bit of this gift that you are sharing this whole podcast, and share us some music with us?
Yeah, sure. Okay. We might play My Sweet Love.
I would love to hear that. I think every girl, you know, has that fantasy of their musician to write a song for them.
Travel far away to the desert plains, to the rivers and the mountainside, and the wind will cry top of the stars and the sea. I'll be by your side, living next to the mystery. My sweet love, oh my sweet love, oh my sweet love, oh my sweet love.
It's a little short version.
Yeah, beautiful. My sweet love.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pat.
Thanks, Steph.
Your space, my space, our space. One space love. My space, your space.